plantain. I'm doing my thing. I like my coconut drink. I like my sunset's pink. I wake up every day, baby, when the sun do. I like the ocean breeze.
All right. So I'm gonna sit right here.
Oh, here.
So welcome to another episode of the Love Podcast. Today I have Miss Cleo. I've known Miss Cleo for about 6. I think I met you when I first moved here about 6 years ago, and she doesn't know, but like I look up to her, I adore her. As much as I can, I talk to her about all the different aspects of life, and she always has good advice for me with anything I ask. So I want to just touch base more with her today. And I want to start off by just introducing you, Miss Cleo. She's been here for, how long have you been here in Porto?
12 years.
12 years. And she just has so much knowledge. And so I want to start where are you from? Where were you born?
I was born in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. In the wintertime, when my father and mother were very alcoholic.
What year is this?
This was 1938.
Wow.
Yeah. But because my father was a alcoholic, he and mother got into a fight when she was pregnant with me, and he threw her down the stairs. Broke a vertebrae, smashed my lower plate. So I came out, men are dangerous.
Wow.
Men are dangerous. And
that was like a trauma that you felt within the womb.
Very much so. And I carried it with me my whole life. Every time I had a problem with my back, it was one of those 3 spots.
Wow.
But everything turns out to be good.
And where were you born? What?
Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
September 22nd, 1938.
Wow.
And in my horoscope, they ask me where my moon is, where's my sun. Everything is in Virgo. So I'm a compulsive, super, get it done, build it up, do it person.
Yeah, nice. And then, so tell me about that long ago, just like your early life, like from your childhood going into like your teenage years.
Well, I grew up on an island. So Paso Grill was my life. I didn't go over into town except for school or doctor or something like that. Otherwise, I lived on that island.
And this is where?
Paso Grill, Florida.
Oh.
It is in the Gulf of Mexico, outside of Tampa, St. Pete. You come over the bridge.
And so when did you move here?
My mother moved us there in 1940. I was 2.
And her and your dad split?
Totally.
So you had no real strong relationship with your dad after that point?
Not at all. And when I was 82, I took a astrology thing. And she said, and who was your father? I said, I didn't have a father. I hardly knew my father.
Wow.
And she said, well, I want you to go out to the beach and write all your memories of your father. Oh, I had none. I have no memories of my father. He was hardly ever there. Cleo, you're paying me a lot of money. Go out on the beach and write a list. Gilly, this was one of the most important things I've done in my life.
Really?
Because I took this piece of paper that I did not want to write on. I did not want to think about him. And then I wrote the first memory, then the second memory, and the third memory. And by the time I got to the 11th memory, I realized my father loved me. He came, he tried to be a good dad. My mom would not let him.
Wow.
She was angry at him, so I couldn't be good with him because my mother is all I have.
Exactly.
So I lost out on having a dad, but I have him now. I know, I see myself. I'm like my father.
Wow.
Small businesses, always doing. My father was the same way.
Man, so then you moved to Florida.
Then mother moved to Florida, got a job, and my brothers and sisters, my brother and 2 sisters went to school, and she went to work. And what was she going to do with me? She had no money. She couldn't send me to the nursery school. So one day she said, honey, I don't know what to do. I got to go to work and I can't pay for you to go to school. Mom, let me go by myself all day. I'm 5. I can do it. I know the rules.
5 years old.
She taught me all the rules. Don't talk to strangers unless someone you
5
know
years
is around.
old.
5 years old. I went out, and for 1 year, the fishermen would, Cleo, come with us. I would take the fish off, put the bait on, put the fish off, put the bait on. I'd go out with them for 4 hours fishing.
But
in
now
the
you
morning.
didn't go to school. You weren't in school yet at
Not
that
at
point.
5, no. 6 I went to school.
So you went fishing with the fishermen.
I went fishing with the fishermen. I went when the big pools of manta rays would come through. I'd go underneath them and then swim with them. And they'd be all over me. I went out in sailboats and helped dredge them. I just.
But they knew your mom. These people
They
knew
all
your mom.
knew my mother. They all knew they
So
were
where did you
taking
learn from
care.
that at such a young age? Like, where did
Well, it's when I wanted to be in this Miss Lakers contest. I was 13.
13 years old in this picture right here.
You had to be 18 to be in the contest. So I went to my mother and I said, Mom,
Wow,
I want to
this
be
is
in the
crazy.
contest. My legs are good. I know they are. And they're only going to see to hear, so they won't know how old I am. Do you think I can enter this contest? And she told me a life-changing sentence. Cleo, you can do anything you want. Don't limit yourself. Ooh.
Wow.
I entered the contest. I came out number 1 for women, and they were furious, the 18-year-olds.
Did they know your age?
When they came behind the curtain, they looked at me as, oh my God, this is a child. And from here on, I am a child.
I mean, yeah, but wow, those legs.
Right. Yeah, so I won because it was a clapping thing and nobody could see how old I was. And I won first place and they were furious. And I'm sitting on the piano right there. And the judge comes up and says, wait a minute, this girl can't win this. She's not 18. And out of nowhere, my very public mother shows up and says, well, let's talk about this. And when he comes back, I'm on the front page of the St. Pete Times.
No way.
She saved my ass many a time if it was public. If I was sick with pneumonia for 2 months at 11 years of age, never a thing. Fix your breakfast. And at 5, I had to find my breakfast, find my lunch, take care of myself until 5 p.m. Then Mom came home.
Wow.
And I had the best time. You know what I ate for breakfast? Sea grapes. The sea grape tree,
Yeah.
it would drop and I'd shake it and it'd drop and I'd sit by the water and wash them and eat them.
And so rolling into high school years,
Oh, wow.
elementary school, middle school, high school, those adolescent years, how were things back then? Like outline for me, like those years for you, if you could remember that far back in.
School was hard for me. I'm not a fast learner. And by the 3rd grade, they were going to fail me. And I wasn't going to be able to go over to the other side of the school with 4th graders. I was going to be with the babies.
Gee.
I went home to Mama and cried. I said, Mama, I don't want to do this. I want to go on with the others. She picks up the phone and calls the principal. She said, Mary, I'm going to give Cleo 2 weeks of help. I want you to test her again in 2 weeks. All right, Sally, no problem.
When you say you weren't a fast learner, just the classroom setting just wasn't for you.
It was too hard, too many people.
Yeah.
Too many distractions. So my mother, every night I had to go into every morning I had to go into the kitchen, indubitably ostentatious concoction. I had to go look them up in a dictionary, write a sentence about them, and when she came home at night, I had to be able to say the 3 words in a sentence to her. 2 weeks of that, spelling was nothing.
Yeah.
I could spell
because you had the
anything.
focused attention to.
Well, and I could hear the sounds and know the letters, and everything changed. From then on, I never got less than an A.
Wow.
Because I did not like the results. And then 2 guys, brilliant young men in my class, decided they were going to make me a hero. They couldn't get in front of public and speak, but I could do anything. So they got me to be president of the Civitan Club, president of the National Honor Society, first woman president of the Civitan Club.
Wow.
President of the class. They got me into all that, got me voted, and I loved it. Give me a microphone. I can talk to anyone. And I did it many times. I loved public speaking.
And so now rolling into high school, did you know your career path from there, or were you, still kind of like,
Yeah, in 8th grade, I started a class in typing. Now, these were the old typewriters you had
yeah,
to push. But I got up to 85 minutes of
words a
words a
minute,
minute
yeah.
in 8th grade. When I went to 9th grade, I said to my mom, I want to really do this.
Hmm.
And so she got me a little better typewriter. I fell in love with typing. I fell in love with organizing. I fell in love with filing. All the skills a secretary has. So I became a secretary for 17 years.
Hmm.
And I worked for a hospital consulting firm for 5. So I knew every piece of data in a hospital because I put reports together for them.
Exactly.
And this was at a time when nobody questioned doctors. Nobody. They make no errors.
So whatever the doctor said, boom, that's it.
And nobody tracked how many times you cut off the wrong foot or did something wrong. And when I have to regress. When I was 17,
Hmm.
I was dating a young man whose father was a doctor. And we were dating and we had sex. And that was the first time I'd had sex. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what he was doing.
Hmm.
But we had sex and got pregnant.
Oh wow, 17.
Yes.
The first time you had sex, you got pregnant.
Well, I found out later that every time I have sex, I'll have a baby. My children are 10 months apart. Every time.
That's crazy.
It's called, yeah, ovulating on demand. So I started dating Ronnie. I got pregnant. His father didn't like it. He didn't want him to be a daddy. He wanted him to be
How old was he?
20.
Okay.
And so I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go through having a baby. I didn't. And he left me. You're not mine. You're not my baby. No, left me. Totally deserted me. So I got on a bus.
And so at this time, you're not living with your mom anymore.
Well, I was then.
What did your mom say about the baby situation? How was that back then? Was that frowned upon back then?
Everybody rejected me. Everybody said I was a loser.
But and then before, and this is in this is in 19 what?
50s.
So there was no abortion at this time.
I could have an abortion. But I didn't want to.
And so your mom said, if you're going to do that, then
get out.
You're not going to do that in my house.
No. But a couple who lived in Cleveland that summered in Florida knew me. They heard about it. She was a nurse. She said, you come with us to Cleveland. We'll take care of you. You can have the baby. Can't keep it. Put it up for adoption.
No.
But then you can come back home.
Why can't you keep the baby, though?
Because they didn't want a baby in the house. They didn't want to go through all that. If I wanted the baby, I had to go find other solutions. I'm 18 in the city. I have no money. I didn't know what to do, so I agreed with them. And wow, getting on that bus and saying goodbye to my community and my mother. And I cried and cried. And then I said, you know what? It's what is. I got to live with it. And I stopped crying and I focused. And I had but what turned me on, my passion, was the typing.
Uh-huh.
And then at 17, when I'm pregnant, this doctor, the father, decides he doesn't want his son to be a daddy, so he's going to take care of me. So he goes to my mother and says, Cleo has a lot of pain in her back. Dehydration. I didn't drink enough water. And I want to fix that. And I'll do it for free, Sally. You don't have to pay anything. So this man puts a 17-year-old pregnant girl in a bed, takes her into surgery, and does that to her.
Wow. This right here? What did he do?
He went, cut in. I had pain from dehydration. He wanted an excuse to abort the baby. So he was going to try and shock me into it. So he cut me open, sawed off my bilateral scapulas, sewed me up. 2 weeks later, when the skin is all grown over, whipped the wire cords out, passed me out onto the floor. 5 atrocities. Gilly, it's the gold in my life. It's because of that I'm here retired with a lot of money. And we think,
why? How did that? What do you mean? What happened?
Okay, so I leave home and I go to Cleveland.
So you went to Cleveland pregnant,
right?
So the baby wasn't aborted.
No.
He gave you surgery basically for no reason.
Well, he tried, but he wasn't successful. He wanted to abort the baby, but nothing.
Exactly,
He did.
but he gave you the surgery for basically no reason
Right. Well, he was
because you
hoping
were just dehydrated. He didn't have to do that.
Oh no, not at all. I did not need surgery at all. But then we learned later. Okay, so what happened? He gave me a passion. I didn't know it. Wasn't aware of it. But at 40 years of age, I'm penniless, living in the Black District. I wrote a book. People can read it.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that later on too, as well. Yeah.
I was living in the Black District of Princeton, New Jersey, 800 black people and me. And they said, she's ours, don't touch her. So when President Carter gave women trying to start their own business $20,000, I asked the businessmen, what should I buy? A computer. And the new desktops were just coming into the U.S.
This is what year?
1958.
Wow, the beginning of computers.
The beginning of computers. And because I was on unemployment, the community said, okay, then give her a computer. She can try. They put the computer on my desk, turn it on. Is there a manual? No. Total black, C:prompt. Is there instructions on the machine? No. Does anyone know how to work this? No. Okay. Black District, all the people bringing me food and taking care of me. I sit there 3 months. The end of 3 months,
what were computers like back then?
Hard.
What did computers do?
Well, there were mainframes. There was a lot of software out there, but it was complicated, hard, terrible.
Uh-huh.
And then Microsoft and other places started to develop spreadsheets, packages.
Uh-huh.
So I got some of the packages, put them in the computer. The businessmen told me to do this. Put them in the computer, and I started. A prompt. Oh, A. Control A. Oh, puts in a hyphen. 3 months until I could make it, print out a report, do a database, write letters, anything you wanted. I had it all automated. And then, hey, and then my son calls me, 17.
Okay, so you skipped over 20 years. What happened between you going to Cleveland and this?
Oh, okay.
What happened in your life? Like, what led you to New Jersey? Because you were in Cleveland, correct?
I was in Cleveland.
Yeah, what happened in those years?
I went to Princeton because I was offered a job.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you had the baby, though? You had the baby.
And gave it up for adoption.
And you gave it up for adoption?
Yes.
And you never rekindled with that child ever again?
44 years later.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to work at, it's complicated, Duke University Medical Center.
Mm-hmm.
A woman there, the head of it all, learned that I knew computers. She knew nobody in her whole staff of 30 programmers who knew a desktop. So she asked me if I would come to a project. $365,000 project she gives me.
$365,000 in 1950. That's a lot of money.
A lot of money. And I bought computers for all the small hospitals. And then I went around and trained each one how to use it. And then I developed, I have to get my son in this. So my son says he wants to work for me. I said, Randy, ever saw a computer? No.
How did he find you, though? How did he find you after all those years?
No, because I was in communication with him.
Oh, okay.
He and I were close. And he calls me and he says, Mom, I want to come help you. You know computers? No. But Mom, I can learn anything. I said, okay, I was drowning, so come on and help me. He took over the Duke project. They loved him. He went to the secretaries and he said, here's how it works, menu driven. You don't have to know software. You don't have to know nothing except what you want to know. And push a button and a report will print out. He developed a snake of 500 reports. What day, what time, what room, what doctor, what nurse, what year, what... And then
this is when computers were kind of just coming out, so nobody really knew anything.
Nobody knew anything.
And so in between this time, had you traveled overseas yet?
No.
This was after that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Long after.
so boom, you start. So this is basically your business now. This is
My
like your
business,
contract.
and I had 13 years I ran it. And then, for 4 years, I sold 4 packages, 9,000 each, of my software to track quality management for hospitals. That was the name. And 4 years, 4 packages. We were drowning. That wasn't enough money. And a man comes knocking on my door, Mr. David Byer. No degrees, just like me. He says, I'm looking for a business, small business dealing with hospitals and computers. And I understand you have that. And if you'll do everything I tell you to do, I'll help you build your business. I had my
Like,
hand
let's
out
go.
there, let's go. He took me from sales. I'd go to a sales call for an hour and tell them all that it would do. They didn't want to know what it would do. He taught me to go in and say, Dr. Jones, what are your 2 biggest problems? Well, we have to pass Joint Commission or we're not going to get paid. We have that covered 100%. What's your second problem? You have that covered? We'll pass? Yes, you will. Get me a check. Get me a check. They'd write checks right there, sign the contract. We need it now. And I would train them and get them working. Then slowly Randy started to train them. And Randy was the guapest man you ever saw. And he would go in and sit with these women who were scared to death.
And secretaries, basically.
Secretaries. And they were scared to death. They were going to lose their job. They didn't know what. And he'd say, it's okay. I'm going to teach you. Come on. And it would be all menu driven. And as soon as they asked a question that wasn't in the menu, he fixed it.
So this was like the revolution of computers.
It was.
Into the medical
I invented
field.
something that did not exist because doctors didn't want questions.
Yeah.
Nobody. I went to a hospital with 1,500 doctors. And the president told me he didn't need this software because his doctors didn't make errors. And then we found one that cut off the wrong foot 4 times.
Wow.
In 4 different hospital locations. It was a group.
So this is now keeping doctors accountable and keeping records of all the things that are going on.
Yes. So 200 hospitals got together. They were furious I was doing this. And I invited them for a meeting. So 200 doctors are in this room. And I walk up to the microphone. In the back, there are 5 doctors, the head doctors. I said, gentlemen, when you come sit down and join the group, I'll start my lecture.
They didn't want to. It's great.
Everybody turned and looked at them.
And so what was the...
They came and sat down, and I said, first of all, you have to know I'm not using any private data. Really? No, it's all public. I'm just making sure you're covered, that they don't make mistakes. Really?
Yeah.
All of them took it. All hospitals.
So what was the evolution from your business, and basically inventing this system that was never there before into like the next aspect of your life? Because this was like, how old were you at this point?
I was 55.
55. Wow.
And my CEO, David, hired a woman secretary from a hospital, and he kicked me out.
And at this point, you have how many kids?
Oh, I had 4, and they were all gone.
Oh, they were all, you raised all your kids separately.
My 4 were all gone. My 3 step-kids I raised were all gone. The husbands were gone. I was alone.
And so with their relationships during these times, what would you see as like the factors why they didn't work out each relationship during these times? What were different reasons? For example, your second baby father, what happened with that relationship?
He was Czechoslovakian. He didn't want to be a daddy. He didn't want to get married, but his family put pressure on him. And he met me at Fenn College where he was going to school, and I was his secretary. And he met me and he said to Lisa later, well, she was pretty and she was nice, so I had to marry someone. I married her.
And you were married?
We got married.
For how long?
9 years. And then at the end of 9 years, I couldn't take it anymore.
What was the problem?
He played cards at night. He went out at night. He went with his guy friends at night. He did everything with other people and left me alone with 3 children.
Wow.
And I didn't
so you had all 3 with him?
I had all 3 with him, and I was living on the outskirts of Hopewell, New Jersey. So I was isolated. I had no car.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. And but he also had other women running along. I didn't know that.
And that was a normal thing back then, way back when.
Oh yeah.
And where's he now?
They're both dead. They're all dead.
Everybody's dead.
Every man who slept with me is dead. Don't mess with Cleo.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so now and then at some point, you started traveling the world.
Well, Mr. Byer brought in this new secretary to be president.
Mm-hmm.
She took it from 243 hospitals to 800 hospitals. And she never left her desk. She did it by phone. She was fabulous.
Wow.
But I needed to get out because I was developing the software and there were always changes and always testing, and it was a nightmare. And they needed me out of the way.
Yeah.
And when he told me that, he took me to lunch. He said, I really think you need to leave. I said, you really think I should go? He said, yes, I do. I said, okay. Went home, and in 1 hour I left. Never went back.
And where'd you go?
I went home, went over to a friend of mine who was head of a Duke, said, I don't know what to do. She said, travel. Somebody will contact you. And a woman I'd met at a luncheon in the U.S. from Sweden, she had written 36 books, famous author, invited me to Sweden, gave me an apartment for 15 years. I went back for 4 months every summer.
Wow.
Free. To Sudamam, the southern part of.
How was that experience?
Fabulous. I traveled. I went to 26 countries.
And the different cultures from your travels.
Wow.
What was the most profound?
The most disturbing was in India.
What was wrong with that?
I lived with a family, and there was a lot of anger, and I'm sure that's in the U.S. and all places. But living with it was very shocking. And some of the best places were where I just got on a train and said, where are you going? Skagen, Denmark. Oh, really? That's where I'm going. And I'd get off at Skagen. I did this. I walked into the town, asked where I could get a room. They sent me to a man. He gave me a room. And it just began, the process of people saying, oh, here, come fishing with us. Oh, here, come with us in the mountains. We're going to look for goats. Oh, let's do this. Let's do that. I loved it.
So at this point, this is probably like the best time of your life, traveling. And just having different experiences.
I had a blast.
So what was the best experience?
To cook. Well, Stockholm was just fabulous.
You always tell me about Stockholm.
Yeah. But I will say, of all the countries and states that I ever visited, there was one outstanding, and that's Israel.
Oh, really?
Because it's the only time I went on a tour, because I wanted to hear the stories. Mm-hmm. And the tour guide would take us, and they would tell us the story of what happened here, walking on water, crossing the Dead Sea. And then another man would explain how that affects us today. Mm-hmm. So beautiful. So I spent 20 days traveling to Israel with that group and learning. And then when they left, I stayed. And I met people. I always met people, and then they invited me to their homes, and then I had breakfast and lunch and dinner all free.
Things were just different, right? Things were just much more free.
It was unusual for a single woman to be traveling around.
And so in this time, to this point in your life, have you had any spiritual awakenings, anything that was stick down your mind that was profoundly spiritual that you couldn't really explain?
My profound spiritual started when I was a child, and my mother sent me to church school, and I said, Mom, why do I have to go to church school and you don't even go to church? She says, honey, when you know what you don't know, you don't have to go. But right now, you don't know what you don't know. Go and learn. And it was teaching faith and kindness and good discipleship, and I loved it. So I went every Sunday, and I went to church for many, many years. And it wasn't until I got married and became Catholic, and they said I had to keep on having a baby every year, that I said, goodbye, Catholic Church. I'm on my own.
So after that, what type of spirituality did you did you use throughout the life? Like, how did you?
I have God walking right here. I don't need a church. I don't need anything. I'm all right. Do I need to do something? I'm listening. I listen to what he tells me to do, and that's what I do.
Because a lot of people, you know, at your age aren't like living a healthy lifestyle, strong. They have all these different issues. What would be your your secrets to success when it comes to health
But
and
how
wellness?
can you leave water like that and not go in? It's a gift from God to heal
And
us.
so, what made you come here to Costa Rica? At what point did you say, you know what, I'm gonna move to Costa Rica and finish off
Well,
my
I was
retirement
living
there?
in Florida and in an elegant house. I had a boat, cheeky hot tub. I had everything.
So at
And
this point, you
nobody
you
could
were
do
before
anything.
you came here, you were already retired.
I guess.
And so, at what point when you got back from overseas did you say, okay, I'm done, I'm good, I don't have to work anymore?
When he kicked me out,
Oh, he gave you your payment, like he paid you off, and then boom,
kicked me
from
out.
there on you were
And well,
retired.
I got a yearly allowance.
Oh,
They,
nice.
because the company went ballistic. They
Mm. And they
sold,
blew
and
up.
money, money, money. And then after I had left, I don't know how many years it was, a big company from Europe, simpler company, came and wanted to buy my database,
Hmm.
my 800 hospitals. And they had to do due diligence and go ask each hospital. Well, they went to 25 hospitals, and each hospital said, "No way, Jose. We're not changing names. We're not changing companies. Cleo's the only one that's come in and listened to us.
Oh.
So no, we're not changing." So they came back to us and said, "For 4 million, will you sell me everything? The name, everything?" Yeah, I'll sell you it for 4 million.
Wow.
So he pays me 4 million. They take the software. They took the whole company to Europe, and it's
And they
still
do it.
in
Yeah.
operation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now your books. You have 4 books, correct?
Mhm.
The first book,
Sand in My Soul. It's a book that everybody who's raising children should read.
Sand in My Soul.
Yeah, because it's
Can you give me like a
empowerment.
quick overview?
Sand in my soul. I lived my life in my sand. I lived with trust. My mother trusted me. Freedom. I had freedom. I was empowered to do anything I wanted to do. One day, a group of men came to me and said, "We're doing a water show. We got 300 people on the beach, and we don't have anyone to do the act. Will you do it for us?" I was 15. I said, "Sure." And I had no idea what they were talking about. And I went out on the boat, and we all got in the water with skis on. And I was a water skier.
Yeah.
So we started skiing, 5 men and me. I have no idea what's happening. I'm just doing what they tell me to do. And then 2 guys get on top of the 3 guys, and they're a pillar now.
Oh.
And now they tell me to drop my ski and to climb up. And so I went up their knees to the top, and in front of 300 people, did a double flip back off into the water.
Wow.
I would do anything because mother said I could.
Yeah. So your mom empowered you.
I never limited myself. Coming here was a big thing because I had everything in Florida.
Hmm.
And I came here, went to Samasati for yoga, and they brought us down here for 5
This is
hours.
how many years ago?
12. And I was at Tex-Mex, Hot Rocks,
Yeah. Yeah.
looking at the water. I said, "This is Paso Grill where I grew up, but 70 years ago. There are people and fishermen."
Hmm.
And I said, 10 minutes. I said, "I'm going. I'm coming here."
Wow.
Went home, sold my house in an hour, and everything with it. Good.
Ya nos andamos bañando.
¿Cómo estás?
Bueno, todo.
So the second book.
The second book is called Sisters in Madness. My sister at 18 turned paranoid schizophrenic.
Wow.
And at 40, we were both
How did
on
that
this.
happen? At 18?
That's when it comes. She
How-
was fine until then.
How did that? What caused
Paranoid
that?
schizophrenia is inherited. It's in the blood. Her father was not my father, and she went nuts.
And so outline that book. What was that one about?
That book is about a crazy woman making it. She made it. She did amazing things. I remember going to New York City to try and find her because she had disappeared. she was on the street with the street people. And they had a room they let her use. They knew she was crazy. They let her use, but she did all kinds of weird things. And I was living on the street myself, under bridges.
When was this?
This was in 19.
How old were you at this point?
Oh, I was like 45.
And you were living under bridges.
Under bridges.
How'd you get to that point in your life?
Because I had sold the business. No, this is before I sold the business. Sorry. It was very early on. Had I started? Hey, with my sister. Yeah, it was before I started the business. And
so you were homeless at this time.
I left my second husband. He gave me no money. The kids were all gone, but I had no job. I had nothing, and it was a depressed time, so it was hard to get a job.
Yeah.
So that I was in the street, living everywhere I could. It was kind of fun because I never knew what was going to happen next, and I didn't have any bad experiences.
Really?
No. Well, one little one.
Were you sleeping? Where would you sleep?
Oh, I loved it. I wanted to go from Princeton down to Paso Grill because it was somebody's birthday. Well, I didn't have any money. So I went out on the highway and I hitchhiked. And the guy stopped. Now I'm in New Jersey. And I said, I want to go to St. Petersburg, Florida. He said, get in, I'll take you. He was going down over to Sarasota.
From Jersey to Florida?
But he was going that way.
Yeah.
But he gets to St. Petersburg where there are bridges like this, 4 layers up. And he says, you're going to have to get out here at 10 p.m. at night because I got to keep going and you need to turn right. I said, no problem. I got out, not a car moving. So I go down the 4 layers to the first layer, go up onto the ramp. Every one of them has a ramp, and it always has sand. I went up under, cleaned a little area, laid down. Cars in the morning woke me up as the traffic started.
See.
And I went down and I hitchhiked and had a ride in a minute all the way to my house. And I was done.
Wow.
I was home. Yeah, I loved it.
And so your third book?
Third book is a murder mystery.
Oh.
And the reason it's a murder mystery is I was in the hospital doing my software when the incident that's tracked in this book occurred.
Wow.
And a 40-year-old mother and her newborn baby, both are killed.
In the hospital?
In the hospital. They both are dead. And I'm in the quality management office at 3 in the afternoon when they come in and say, she's dead. I said, what happened?
And they were killed?
We don't know. Well, we don't.
Or did she die from birth?
Nobody knew.
Oh.
So in a hospital, peer review takes over. They cannot ask each other any questions. They can do nothing. But I was an outsider. So they said, Cleo, go find out what happened. All right. 5 things happened that killed her. 5 things, just stupid things killed her. And when they found out, the whole hospital exploded.
Was it a criminal offense?
Well, you got to read the book.
The book.
You got to read the book.
Yes. Keep that. Yeah.
I turned it into a murder mystery, but everything in it is true.
And so the 4th book.
The 4th book is no money, no degrees, no problem. How I started a successful software business.
Wow.
I've named it other things along the way,
Mm-hmm.
but that one describes it. That's what it is. And it takes you from me being in the Black District of Princeton, New Jersey in a condemned house and no money to very, very rich.
Sure, I love it.
It was a miracle.
As far as your healing journey, I know I've talked to you several times about urine therapy and these type of things. Like, can you give some insight on the science behind urine therapy and what it's done for you?
First of all, for thousands of years, the only medicine we had on this earth for human beings was urine. There were no pharmacies, there were no doctors.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't until they came out with medicine that they said to everybody, oh, stop using that urine therapy. Buy our product. It'll make you healthier.
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody stopped, and a time went by, and now everybody thinks it's disgusting. But in fact, urine is antiseptic, antibiotic, clean. Everything you didn't process nutritionally through your food that day goes into your urine.
Mm-hmm.
Bad stuff all goes through the feces,
Yeah.
nothing through the urine. So urine is drinkable. I drink it every day. One quick example, I had a gap between my teeth,
Mm-hmm.
quarter inch, both top and bottom, roots showing, very negative. They were going to do surgery. So I went to the shaman here and I said, they want to do surgery to fix it. They're going to take skin off of here and put it over my gums. No way. Cleo, just go drink your urine every day.
Who said that?
The shaman,
Oh, the
the
shaman.
urine shaman who was here.
Yeah.
Every day, just drink your urine.
Yeah.
Total. All my teeth got repaired. It was amazing.
That's crazy.
I mean, I put my hand in the mouth of a moray eel. Cut my hand so badly, this nerve was cut. Everything. They said I'd never use my hand again.
You
The
soaked it
woman
in
told me,
urine?
Cleo, just use your urine. Don't put medicine on it. It was all infected. Don't put it. Just go in the water, wash it, and put urine on it. I did it, and in 3 months, not even a scar.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so urine is natural. And it's for people to realize that God was not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
He built a complex body. Of course, He gave us medicine.
For sure.
And I've healed 300 people minimum.
With urine
300
therapy.
with urine, eyes, nose, dogs, cats. They respond even better than humans.
Mm.
There was a cat
they're
laying
they're
here.
eating different type of, organic foods.
Right.
Like they know exactly what to eat, so their urine is probably
Yes.
pure.
I came up here one day and the cat was laying here, dying. And they said, we've tried everything. We can't get it to come back. I went over and I took a cup, went in, put pee, came back, scrubbed the arm. Scrubbed the arm. Scrubbed the arm. Next day came back, he was walking around totally healed. Everybody was aghast. I had no idea it would happen that fast. But it's...
And I know sometimes I don't see you for maybe a week or so, and you go to like these, I think it was a retreat or something where you don't speak. Like these,
Oh, yeah.
I always wanted to ask you about that. Like,
Meditation.
yeah, so how
I went
long
to
do
one,
you just,
yeah, I went to one that was like 4 days long.
and you just don't say
Not
anything?
one word to anybody. Not one. And no, I don't think anybody broke the rule.
And so what
Everybody
does
was
that
present.
do? How does
It
that?
allows you to relax. You know, we live in our child being anxious and worried and judgmental and all these things. It allows you to get in your adult and breathe. Your adult just wants everyone happy. And so that was one of the biggest lessons I learned here. Am I my child, blah, 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 or am I adult making a good decision?
Mm,
And if you stop before you do anything and ask yourself that, oh, I'm in my child, I don't want that. That's a lot of work. Children are mad, there's judgmental, there are all these negative things. Never the adult.
have you ever had any telepathic experiences in life where you like heard your higher self, like a voice speaking to you before you made
So
a decision? Or
I used to smoke cigarettes, and I was teaching a class in self-image and hunger, Gestalt. I'm a Gestalt facilitator. And I take a break, and I say to everybody, come on out in the hallway, we're going to take a 15-minute break. And I go out in the hallway and light up a cigarette. And this young woman comes up to me and says, how can you talk about self-image and hunger and you're smoking a cigarette? I said, well, you have your hang-ups, I have mine. You can't take mine away, I can't take yours away. And she said, okay, and she left, and I left and went back to the class. And that night I went home and went to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, I put my legs over and went to grab my cigarettes. And all of a sudden, a voice shouted, Cleo, that was so much bullshit. Never smoked again.
what was that voice though?
My voice yelling at me, wake up, girl.
Yeah, like stop
I
it.
mean, it was so loud, and it was in my bedroom. It was amazing. But I've had a number of amazing experiences. I know when I was snorkeling a lot, I was in New Zealand and we were in a waterfall and there was a 60-foot bridge. And they said, "Come on, Cleo, we're going to all go jump from the bridge." 60 feet?
Yeah, that's
That
kind of high.
is
Yeah, it's
high
really high.
bridge. So I went up and I looked and I don't think, but after about 20 minutes, I said, "Okay, I'm going to jump." And I stood up and I jumped in with feet first. You know, your feet cut through that water.
Yeah.
And I'm going down and I'm going down and I'm going down. I said, I don't have air to go down anymore. I knew I couldn't, I was going to pass out. And then all of a sudden, my body stopped, reversed, and up I came. I was I was stunned. I thought I was dead.
Really?
I've had a number of. I thought I was dead.
Can I hear a couple of them? I want to hear some of those.
Well, I took. I had pneumonia once, and my mother didn't take care of me. Nobody even came in my bedroom to see what was happening.
This is when you were obviously like really young.
11, and I was in the bed for 2 months.
What?
2 months. I couldn't motivate. I was
2 months?
so sick. Temperature.
2 months?
Yeah. And finally, mother sends me back to school. She says, you've been home long enough. You got to go back to school. So I went back to school, and my physical education teacher took one look at me and said, "This girl needs a hospital." So she called my mother, got permission, and submitted me to a hospital. I was there 2 weeks, and not one person came to see me. And I'm 11. And I'm
What was the
sick.
problem?
I had double bronchial pneumonia.
So your mom didn't see you coughing and wheezing?
Yeah, she heard it, but
So how'd you
My
get
mother-
over that?
they gave me 2 weeks of treatment.
And you think you almost you had a near-death experience there?
In the hospital, yes, I was in a hospital bed, and I was coughing, and I couldn't get my breath anymore. And it was the middle of the night, and there wasn't much staff. I didn't know what to do. I was just, alone, trying to live.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a voice said to me, "Cleo, breathe, slow down." Okay, so I sat down. I couldn't take a deep breath. And I did that for like half an hour, and then it slowly got better. And I was able to breathe again. But it
Wow.
was very, very scary.
What other situations happened?
When I was pregnant and having the baby, this is the first one that was illegitimate. So when they put me in the hospital, they put me in the hallway. I didn't get a bed because I was a pregnant girl with a baby,
No.
illegitimate baby. Yeah, there were 3 of us in the hallway. And when the labor started, the pain, I can't describe the pain because my babies kicked.
Yeah.
They kicked. And I screamed, I cried, I asked for help, nothing. Because the doctor had told them, "Don't give her any pain reliever. We want the baby to abort." Well,
What?
yeah, he said if we don't give her any medicine and she screams enough, the baby will abort. And that didn't happen. And during the night, a nurse came in and gave me some aspirin. And that was a big help. But no, I had that baby and went to Cleveland. But starting my business, I want to go back to that for a minute, because if the doctor hadn't butchered me, I would never have had a passion to invent quality management software for hospitals.
That's a big thing.
It was a big thing. And then I started looking back at all the bad things that happened to me. I was raped twice by family connections.
No.
I had terrible things happen to me. Every one of them turned out to be gold. I gained something.
How did the rape turn out to be a positive? How did you flip that?
Well, a rape is an you intrude on
Yeah,
somebody.
invasive. Yeah.
Invasive. And I was so young, and
How old were you?
the first one I was 15.
And who was this?
And he was a friend of the family. I
that
was
just
15.
snuck in
He
somewhere.
was 24. No, he said, "Come on, we'll go for a ride in my car." Okay, cool. I get in the car, and all of a sudden I see him turn off towards the river area that's very isolated. And I wonder a little bit why we're doing this,
Hmm.
but I didn't know.
Yeah.
And he pulls up on a riverside, turns off the thing, locks the car doors, turns to me, grabs me, throws me in the back seat, rips off my clothes, and I was just in shock. I didn't know that happened. I didn't know
Wow.
what
And that was
sex
your
was.
first incident
I
because
didn't know what
so
sex
he
was.
wasn't even gentle.
Oh no!
So after that, you did you
Violent.
tell anybody?
I didn't because I was afraid they would blame me, and they did. When people found out, they blamed me. Well, she shouldn't walk around in one of those bathing suits the way she does. She just tempts men.
Wow.
So I learned, then again, we're dangerous.
Hmm.
So I really haven't ever had a good relationship with men.
Really?
And that's why coming here, I said on the plane, the men of Costa Rica like a lot of women. I don't want them. I'm going to be their abuela. And I'm going to listen and help and counsel and do whatever I can, but no men for me, no relationships. What a good decision. The
Wow.
best in the world. Every man here would help me
Oh, for
because they know.
sure.
Louise,
For
he
sure.
couldn't work for me if he thought I would be sexual with him in any
Yeah.
way. Who wants to work with that?
Wow.
So it's been really good for me and good for the whole community.
Yeah, for sure.
I
For
had
sure.
somebody, I want to tell this quick little story. I was here with a new woman I had met, Terry, and a man from here, a black guy that knows me 12 years, comes up and says to Terry, "You know Cleo?" "Yeah, I just met her." "Okay, then you're part of Puerto Viejo. Because if you don't know Cleo, you're not part of Puerto Viejo."
Yeah, if you guys know, Cleo has a boat that she has out there for the kids
Right.
to jump off and have fun. Cleo invested, money into the basketball court for us to get lights and for us to get the basketball court painted. So she's a pillar in the community. So
Cemetery.
it's really an honor to be able to sit down and speak with her about these things and just get like different experiences from your life that could possibly, help people and just, get people more information about, your journey and leading up here.
Well,
It's
and
super
it's
cool.
like, I'm here. I'm 85. I was the oldest person at the whole party last night.
Hmm.
It's a shock to me.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I go out and do a handstand in the water, I'm 12.
I know.
I'm under that
Brings you
water.
back.
Everything's working. My legs are up. I'm
So what is your, like, what would you say is, your tips for longevity, and do you think it's just the nature aspect of things because you're just like a beach person living by the beach your whole life, and like what is it?
I think if each person would decide that they were going to be a good disciple. What's a good disciple? Jesus didn't come here to get killed. He came here to teach us.
Hmm.
And we're his teachers now because he's not here. But we're all just teachers. So I stopped. I'm not a hero. I listened. He told me to fix the part, told me to fix it. I did it. I did not go out looking for projects. They all came to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
And everything will come to you if you're open and ready and there are no mistakes. There's not a mistake in the world.
Hmm.
I love knowing that. And when something bad starts to happen, what do you want me to learn? I want to learn it fast. I don't want to
Exactly.
go through this.
Exactly.
And you can. You can. You just have to learn, oh, I'm sorry I did that.
So do you believe in karma? Have you had things in your life that you've done and said, wow, this is some type of karma that I'm dealing with right now?
Well, I think a lot of my uh, ability to look at data and organize it, instead of that, I think a lot of that comes from my history of family because I had a lot of very intelligent people in my
Hmm.
family. I had two governors, North Carolina and South Carolina, were my uncles. I had a lot of big stuff. I didn't benefit financially by it, but by knowing it and meeting the families. I went and met everybody when I was in my older years. I saw everybody's doing the best they can. Even the guy laying down in the gutter.
Hmm.
If he could get up, he would, but he can't. but he will someday. He can. The opportunity to be whatever you want to be is there. Every human being. Every human being. And I love, yesterday I watched a little 6-year-old girl. She's standing off watching all the boys trying to get in the boat. She's 6. They can't get in the boat. So they start to go around the back. And she says, wait a minute. She comes up, grabs the side, puts her leg over, put it on, and she's in the boat. I said, she's 6 years old. They started trying. They couldn't do it. They didn't have the upper body strength. They couldn't.
Nice. Well, yeah, it's nice to be out here in paradise and be able to have conversations with you like this. It's a beautiful
Well,
day.
and I get hugs every day. I'm not alone. I'm alone, but I'm not alone. You know, every place here will, oh, you don't have enough money, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't have to be, I just love it. I love the culture. I love the culture.
And I love
mix.
you. And this is the Love Podcast. Perfect. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but thank you for speaking with
You're
me.
wonderful. Thank
You know,
you.
and then once this gets
Appreciate
out,
it.
I'll send you all the information. I'll put the links also to your website in
Cool.
the YouTube video.
Okay.
So everybody can go to your page and check out your books and check out your life. But thanks,
Love
Cleo.
it. Thank you, bud.
Sweet. Thank you.
Mwah. Lovely. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice.
Fish are jumping and the cotton is high.
Happy birthday, Cleo.